Everyone comes to Rye because it looks beautiful. The cobbled streets, the old inns, the crooked houses, the doors that look like they belong in a storybook. But the more time I spend here, the more I realize something. Rye is not just pretty. Rye is a system, a town shaped by water, trade, defense, secrecy, memory, and survival. And just when I thought I was filming a quiet medieval town, Rye gave me the missing clue. A crew dressed as pirates and smugglers, preparing for a local tradition that brings the town's hidden past back into the streets. That's when the whole place started to make sense, because Rye is not random. It is a town still carrying the memory of everything that made it. The oldest pub in Rye, circa 1390. This is the Rye most people come to see, Mermaid Street. One of those streets that feels almost too perfect to be real. But what makes it powerful is not just the way it looks, it is the way it makes you move. You can't rush a street like this. The cobbles slow your feet, the slope changes your pace, the narrowness pulls your attention toward walls, windows, doors, and signs. Modern streets are often designed to move us quickly. Rye does the opposite. It makes you notice. And once a place makes you slow down, it begins to teach you how to read it. Because these streets were not designed for the camera. They were designed by centuries of use. By trade, weather, danger, status, gossip, work, and survival. The beauty came later. The system came first. Beams. Definitely a listed building.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It will be grade 1, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely a grade 1. The deeper you walk into Rye, the less it feels like a town built around straight lines. It feels like a place you have to decode. The streets bend, the alleys narrow, the buildings lean close. Views appear, disappear, then open again. This is one of the reasons Rye feels different. It does not reveal itself all at once, and that matters, because old towns often carry intelligence in their layout, where people gathered, where goods moved, where danger could enter, where you could hide, where you could watch without being seen. Rye's lanes feel charming now. But charm is only the surface. Underneath it is an older logic. The logic of a town that had to manage movement, protect itself, and live with uncertainty. After the lanes of Rye, I stepped into St. Mary's Church, and immediately the town changed scale. Outside, Rye feels intimate. Narrow streets, low doorways, closed walls, cobbles under your feet. But inside St. Mary's, everything opens. The space rises. The eye is pulled upward. The body becomes small. And that is the first thing this kind of architecture teaches you. It changes your posture before it explains anything. You don't just enter a church like this. You are slowed down by it. You lower your voice. You look up. You become aware of height, silence, shadow, and light. The columns do something very powerful. They carry the weight of the building, but they also create rhythm. One column after another, one arch after another. one repeated form leading the eye deeper into the space. It is structure, but it feels like ceremony. The arches are not only practical, they lift the building, they soften the weight of stone, they create a sense of movement from the earth upward, from the human level towards something higher. And whether you are religious or not, you can feel the intention. This was architecture designed to make the invisible feel present. Then there is the stained glass. From outside, a window is just an opening. But inside a church, stained glass becomes a filter between two worlds. Ordinary daylight enters, then it is transformed. Color replaces plain light. Images replace emptiness. The window stops being just a window. It becomes a way of teaching, remembering and feeling. In a time when many people could not read, buildings like this could speak through image, shape, color and symbol. The columns gave order. The arches gave direction. The stained glass gave meaning. The volume gave awe. And together, they turned architecture into a form of storytelling. That is why St. Mary's matters in a film about Rye, because Rye's hidden system is not only in its streets, it is also in its sacred spaces. The town teaches through movement outside, but here it teaches through stillness. Outside, the cobbles make you slow down. Inside, the height makes you look up. Outside, the lanes make you read the town. Inside, the architecture makes you read light. And that is the deeper wisdom of a place like Rye. Its beauty is not only decorative, it is directional. It guides the body. It shapes attention. It tells you where to look, how to move, when to pause, and what to feel. In St. Mary's, Rye stops being just a storybook town. It becomes something older, a place where stone, glass, timber, silence and light were arranged to remind people that life was not only practical, it was symbolic, it was communal, it was spiritual, and it was built to be remembered. At this point in the walk, I ran into this building, a restored timber-framed house with leaded windows, dark beams, white panels, a quiet doorway, and the kind of balance that makes you stop without fully knowing why. And this is where Rye starts to reveal something important, because a building like this is not just pretty, it is evidence. Evidence of craft, evidence of repair, evidence of a town that has had to survive long enough to be restored, cared for, and read again. The black beams make the structure visible, the white panels soften it, the lead windows catch the light in a way modern glass rarely does, and the whole building feels like it belongs to a slower world, a world where houses had faces, windows had rhythm, and the street was not just a route, but a shared stage. This is why Rye feels different. It does not hide its age. It lets you see the joints, the beams, the panels, the uneven lines, the old windows, the repaired surfaces. All of it reminds you that history is not something abstract. It is physical. You can stand in front of it. You can touch the wall. You can see where time has passed through it. And that changes how you walk through the town. Because once you notice one building properly, you start noticing everything else. The doors become clues. The windows become witnesses. The street becomes a record. And suddenly, Rye is no longer just a beautiful place. It becomes readable. After the timber-framed building, Rye gave me another kind of clue. Not in a tower, not in a museum, not in a grand monument, but inside an antique shop. Tinker and Toad Antiques felt like one of those places where the town's memory had been gathered quietly, object by object, old books, frames, furniture, ceramics, mirrors, little things that once belonged to someone's home, someone's routine, someone's version of ordinary life. And this is important because history is not only kept in castles, churches, and official plaques. Sometimes history survives in the things people refuse to throw away. A worn chair, a faded picture, a clock that has outlived its owner, a piece of glass, wood or metal that still carries the touch of another time. That is what antique shops do in towns like Rye. They turn memory into something physical, something you can hold, something you can examine, something you can imagine back into use. And in a place like this, the objects do not feel random. They feel connected to the town itself, because Rye is not just a place of old streets, it is a place of old things. Things restored, things collected, things displayed, things given a second life. And that is the deeper pattern I kept noticing throughout the day. Rye preserves memory at different scales. In the street, in the timber beams, in the leaded windows, in the shop fronts, in the objects, and in the stories people still choose to tell. So even without visiting a tower, the lesson was still there. And then, just as Rye was beginning to feel like a town of quiet memory, something louder appeared. Not an object from the past, not a building from the past, but people bringing the past back into the street. Pirates, smugglers, costumes, characters, local tradition. And that is when I met Pegleg Pete. Suddenly, Rye's hidden history was no longer sitting behind glass or resting on a shelf. It was alive, walking on the cobbles.
I know, oh my god.
This was the moment Rye stopped being a set of old buildings and became something alive, because history is not only kept in museums, sometimes it returns as costume, as humor, as local pride, as people gathering in the street to remember the parts of a place that official history can sometimes make too neat. Rye Pirates and Smugglers Day is not just a colorful event. It is a reminder that this town's past was not only polite, pretty or picturesque. It was maritime, it was risky, it was secretive, and sometimes it was illegal.
Pegleg Pete.
Oh yeah, Pegleg Pete.
I'm Pegleg Pete. Long John Silver, he's from the past, I'm from the future.
Oh my god, this is so cool.
And that is why this encounter belongs in the film, because it reveals the same idea the streets were already telling us. Rye's beauty is not separate from its hidden past. It grew out of it. Rye's smuggling history makes sense when you understand its geography. This was a maritime town, close to the channel, connected to trade, shaped by changing water, marsh and coastline. Rye News describes Rye as one of the ancient Cinque ports, with a vital maritime role, and says its proximity to the French coast helped make it a center for clandestine trade. The same source notes that local smugglers, known as owlers, moved wool, brandy, tea and tobacco across the channel, avoiding heavy customs duties. That detail matters, because smuggling was not just adventure, it was economics, it was tax, it was scarcity, it was opportunity, it was risk, it was community silence, it was fear. And in Rye, the landscape helped the story. The lanes, the marsh, the inns, the darkness, the water. Everything could become part of the hidden system. Even a beautiful street could have another life after dark. The Mermaid Inn is one of Rye's great symbols. Today, it looks like the kind of place visitors photograph because it feels ancient, romantic and atmospheric. But atmosphere is often history that has lost its sharp edges. Rye's smuggling past is strongly linked with the Hawkhurst Gang, one of the most notorious smuggling gangs associated with this part of southeast England. Rye News event page describes secret cellars, hidden passageways and shadowy alleyways as part of the town's smuggling legend, especially around the Hawkhurst Gang. And suddenly the street changes. The same old walls feel different. The same inn sign feels different. the same cobbles feel different. Because once you know what a place has carried, you stop seeing only the surface. You start seeing memory, and Rye is full of it. Oh wow!
Oh my God. Okay, tell us a little bit about the house and the studio.
Okay, well, the house in 1377, there was a big fire. The French came over and they burnt the whole town to the ground,
Oh my God.
most of it,
Okay.
and a few things survived. This being one of the oldest houses, and then the Mermaid Inn was rebuilt in 1920.
20. Okay, wow.
But that was a really bad time to be in Rye.
Yes.
And then over the years, things have changed and they built it up, and the pirates
Yes.
ran the town for a couple of hundred years. There is the secret tunnels under the town still.
Okay.
There's a lot of history that's remained untouched, which is why I think it's so special to people.
This
who come
true.
here.
Okay, no wonder, because at the bottom of Mermaid Street, I saw the pirates and they gave me this. So I was wondering.
The 8th of August of Pirates Day.
Okay. 8th of August. Amazing. Okay, I'll definitely make time and come back and
I will have the open studio again
Okay.
on the 8th of August. So I will be here with candles, sculptures, stickers for Dogs Love Rye. I can show you that because you can follow us on Instagram.
Oh, okay,
Dogs
great.
Love Rye.
Yeah.
In fact, take one.
Yeah, I'll take
I
one.
know, it's got a dog biscuit. If you
Don't
don't have a
eat the
dog,
dog
it doesn't
biscuit.
matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take one.
See,
Okay.
Yeah,